to remind you, just to see if you remember as well, about the way, about the innate qualities of the self. So, as we've seen before, the basic idea is that there are two different energies. So there is the physical energy or the body, and then there is the energy of the spirit or the soul. And when we use the word I, we're referring to the self as the soul. So we're very used to referring to ourselves and considering ourselves to be the physical body, what we see in the mirror, what other people see. Other people refer to us as our bodies, So they're referring to our costume rather than to me, They're talking to my, to my gender or to my age or to my culture, to my nationality, or to the IQ of my brain, but they're not talking to me. And this is why very often we don't feel respected, because people are not talking to each other. They're talking to something that is not them. Something, if someone talks to me, because of the work, as if I am the work that I do, then I feel like they're talking to just a tiny part of something that I do. They're not really talking to me as a person, And maybe tomorrow, if I don't have that work anymore, will they still? Who are they going to refer to then? Because that part of me is not there anymore. So if someone refers to you as someone's husband or someone's wife, then that is just one part that you're playing through the physical body. So what we're going to look at is just a very clear distinction between these two energies, and also then looking a bit further, what actually goes on in the soul. How does it work? So this is not psychology. We're not talking about the psychological workings of of our consciousness, but we're talking about the spiritual information that will help us to understand ourselves better. And then when spirituality and psychology converge, then it's a very good thing, actually. But today we're going to look at the inner workings of the soul. So I'm going to try and share my screen with you. Let's see if it works out. Can I share it? Can you see this picture? The anatomy of consciousness? Yeah, just give me.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes, Radha, we can see it. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so just looking, you see that there's two sections. So there's this dotted line. I think you can see my arrow as well, right?
Yes.
So there's this dotted line, and underneath the line is my body. So usually that's what's visible. So my sense organs, my sight, sound, touch, smell, what else? Hearing, and this is what is made of the 5 elements. So earth, water, air, fire, ether. And this is the physical costume, this incredible, amazing instrument. Some people call it a miracle, which, I mean, in a certain sense it is. How the body functions is incredible, The way it organizes itself, the way the internal organs cooperate with each other, the way they communicate with each other. I mean, it really is incredible. However, within all this amazing thing of the body, we tend to forget what is invisible, which is actually the self, which is what, when I'm present, that's when the body is animated, is alive, and can actually set off all its systems. So without the I, which is above this dotted line, nothing in the physical body will function. And so, so now we're going to focus on what we as the spiritual beings are made up of. So the most important thing, which is may give you just an essence of what we've talked about till now, just putting it in a different way. And so this part in the middle, the I, which you can say is the true I, or the original self, the true self, the whole self, which is the consciousness, the life force, the soul. And we have three faculties. So we have the mind, we have the intellect, and we have what we call, actually, you instead of saying subconscious mind, you can also say sanskars. And you would understand that word. So this word subconscious mind is also correct, because in fact a lot of our sanskars are under the surface, that we are not aware of them, and the way that they're working on us. So just like the physical body is made up of all the different sense organs, so I, the consciousness, have at my disposal three different faculties. I have three different capacities, shall we say. Now, just like you wouldn't say that my hand is the body, no, the hand is one part of the body. So in the same way, I, the being, the essence, the core of my personality, the core of my consciousness is made up of peace, purity, love, bliss, and power. And so you can say that these are five main elements of the soul, just as the body is made up of the physical elements. So the soul consists of these five subtle elements. And now, depending on how aware I am of myself, how much power I have, how charged the battery is, then my mind will function based on that power. My intellect will function based on how much I am aware and conscious of myself. And my sanskars will be formed or will emerge based on that too. We'll look at how this circle functions in a moment. But just to focus a moment on this central piece here, which is I, the consciousness. And this is very, very important, because to be aware that however everything else around me is functioning, even if my mind is running around, if my intellect is going haywire, my sanskars are going crazy, but actually behind all of that, and deeper, at the deepest point, the most original, at the essence of my being, is I, the being of peace, the being of love, the being of purity, bliss, and power. That is my original way of being. That is my original nature. For me, that's the most important thing to know and to be aware of and to remember. Now, we're going to look at each of these three in particular. So the conscious mind, the intellect, and the sanskars, just to see in brief how these work. So let's say, that let's look at the mind, the conscious mind. So what I would do with my mind is I think, I have emotions or feelings, desires, and maybe the more surface memories. So the images, the imagining, the visualization, all of that happens in my mind. So I do that, I, the being, do all of that through my mind. So my mind is an instrument for me to think. No. So I am not my mind. If my mind is agitated, it is because of something in the past, something that's come up, that has not necessarily from the outside, but something from within that has come and has shifted the the moved the waters of the mind, so to speak, agitated the waters of the mind. But if I even identify with my own mind, then I will begin to think that I need peace and I need this, and my mind is, I need peace of mind, but actually I am a being of peace. And so when I remove my identity even with my own mind, so it's like an artist, I am an artist who creates a picture, and then I begin to identify with this picture, that I am this picture. No, I'm not the picture. I'm the artist who has created this picture and has expressed themselves through this picture. But I am not the picture. It represents one little expression of who I am, but it is not who I am. So I don't know if that difference is clear. And it's very important because the mind has a number of different habits and patterns, and it's very easy to get depressed or over excited about what's going on in the mind. But actually, the practice of meditation helps us to even stand back from what's happening in the mind, so that we can even just observe our mind and therefore calm it down. If I'm stuck in my mind, identifying myself with that, I will never be able to calm my mind down. So if I want to bring peace into my mind, I have to put myself in this central position and observe my mind. In a sense, dialogue with my mind. Remind my mind about who I am. And that's why Raja Yoga is called Raja Yoga. So the yoga to be the sovereign, to be the king. So I, the being, am the sovereign of my consciousness. And I need to position myself there. So that's the mind. Then we have the intellect. So here we have the intellect. Just a request if people can put the mics on mute, if you don't mind. There's a bit of noise coming from somewhere. And okay, so here's the intellect. And the intellect, again, is nothing to do with the brain. No? So the brain is part of the body, whereas the intellect is an instrument of the soul. Okay. So everyone has an intellect. Everyone has this capacity of the mind and the intellect. Whether it's weak or strong is a different matter, but we all have an intellect. And it's weak or strong depending on whether I am weak or strong. Yeah. So what can I do with my intellect? I can evaluate, I can make judgments. So judgments not in the sense of negative criticism, but I need to judge whether something is true or something is false. The ability to discern or discriminate, again, not in the sense of racial discrimination and all of that, but discrimination in the sense of knowing what is true and what is false, what is needed in this moment and what is not, even and especially when it's not obvious. And therefore the ability to make decisions. What I can also do with my intellect, which is very, very useful and particularly useful to help me discern, is the use of what we call our conscience. And so here, the conscience, you say your conscience is your guide, but in what way can it really be our guide? So the conscience is like that very quiet and very subtle voice that will tell us, again, that will guide us and show us the truth about a situation, the truth about what we're thinking about, even what's going on in our own mind. Sometimes the mind tricks us, to think, to believe that this thought is right, and and the emotions cloud our ability to think clearly. And so when the intellect is strong, then there is this little voice of the conscience that says, hold on a moment, look at that again. This thought is not true. And this is what is not true about it. This is the truth about what you're thinking. The more we listen to our conscience, the stronger it becomes. And again, one important thing is that the conscience is not the morality. So, morality is what people have taught us in our conditioning, which varies from culture to culture, from family to family, and so, which is very often in conflict with spirituality. So, we need to be very careful that what we believe is right and wrong is actually in line with, from a spiritual perspective, what is true or false, weak or strong, profitable or something that's causing loss. And so the conscience will never bring the feeling of guilt. It might bring the realization, and that's a completely different thing. So as soon as you feel any guilt, you can immediately know that there is some morality, voice of morality, which is coming from outside of you, which is what we call parmat. So the, the directions, the instructions, the opinions of the world outside of us, which may or may not be true. So the intellect is a very, very important capacity that we have, a faculty that we need to develop. And in fact, in Raj Yoga, the first thing we do is to strengthen our intellect, is to clarify our ability to see, to observe our own mind. So I use my intellect as like a lens to filter my thoughts, to say, hold on, this is useful, this is a necessary thought, this is a thought that I do not need in this moment. Within the intellect, there is also willpower. So the ability to be determined and make a determined decision about something. So it's a very important faculty that we have. So then the third faculty here is, let's use the word sanskars. Within the sanskars are our tendencies, the personality that we might have developed in our lifetime, the characteristics of, that are, a lot of them come from our families. Some we may bring from our previous births. And some are the original sanskars that belong to my original nature. So we have a whole set of different sanskars, which are habits and tendencies and ways of doing things. Sometimes they're preferences, sometimes some of them are conscious, a lot of them are unconscious, some of them are subconscious. So there's a whole variety of layers of sanskars. And so the aim of meditation is to be able to see all of these, see what's going on inside. Am I functioning in my life only based on my sanskar? So am I being run by my habits and my characteristics and the personality that I've developed in this life, my conditioning, am I being run by the characteristics that have been instilled into me, or things that are, in a sense, unconscious? And so, in other words, am I living my life asleep? No. And it's all automatic pilot? Or can I be aware of my thoughts? Can I, which are coming from, a lot of my thoughts are coming from my sanskars. They are coming from the impressions that I have, that have been left because of certain actions, certain expressions that I have done. So we have sanskars that are very pure, loving, peaceful, as well as sanskars that are very dark and very destructive. So we have the whole spectrum. Each person, each and every person has the whole spectrum, you know. So that's why it's useless saying, oh, this is a good person and that's a bad person. No, in this moment, this person has developed and is expressing a lot of very beautiful, peaceful, powerful, loving sanskars, but all the rest are asleep within them, you know. And at one point or another in their existence, they will have come out, otherwise they wouldn't exist there, you know. So we don't want to cut away half of our consciousness, you know, and throw out the bad sanskars. No, they're, in a sense, they are part of my journey. But what we do want to do is to be the master of them, so that even though I can do a lot of damage, but I don't, you know, because I have because I am the sovereign of my mind and my intellect and my tendencies. So even though I can, I don't, you know. And so this is a very important thing to be aware of, so that we can accept ourselves whole and complete as we are, with the whole variety of sanskars. So what's shown here is the expression. So let's just take a quick example of how this might work. Is just a very simplistic example. I might have the thought, you know, that today I'm going to meditate 3 times, 3 times. You know, so I wake up in the morning and I say, okay, today I'm going to meditate now, and I'm going to meditate sometime in the middle of the day, and then last thing at night. You know? So this thought comes into my mind, arises in my mind. Where does that thought come from? So that thought will come from some impression, so a memory. So I might wake up remembering one of these classes, you know, and I might think, oh yes, I feel awake and I would like to meditate, and I'm going to meditate. You know, so this thought will come. A thought might even come from outside, so it might come from someone else. It might come from our senses. So you might hear people talking about their experiences, and then the thought might arise, oh yes, I want to do that too. So the thoughts arise in our mind either from our sanskars or from outside sources. So some information that we receive through our sense organs, through hearing or, you know, reading or listening or whatever. So that thought then is processed, shall we say, by the intellect. So the intellect will decide whether it's a good or a bad idea. You know? So it will weigh things up, that actually, yes, you know, feeling good, I want to meditate, I have the time, and this is something that's important for me. So yes, let's meditate. And okay, I meditate, so I express that. So I do that. I sit down, I find a space. Through my body, I am putting that thought into action. So this is where the action on a physical level, the karma on a physical level happens. So the expression of uh, decisions via the body. And then, depending on my experience, so I have the experience here, um, this is imprinted in my sanskars, in my subconscious memory bank. And then maybe in the afternoon when I think, okay, I want to meditate. Now, if I had a good experience in the morning, um, the the feeling will be good. There will be the positive energy, and the intellect may very easily say, yes, it was a good experience. I want to repeat that. And so maybe I meditate, and so I do again, I express that through the body, and the impression, this is imprinted. Everything that we do is imprinted onto our sanskars, onto our subconscious mind. And that's important to be aware of. Now comes the evening, shall we say. Again, the thought arises because of the memory that I'd said, okay, I will meditate 3 times today. So here comes the evening. And I say, yes, I want to meditate. And then, something else happens. So maybe a friend invites me to spend time with them, or there is some other interruption, or something else happens that will distract my attention from my decision. And so, very quickly, the intellect has to make a judgment, a decision. Will I, will I or won't I meditate? So, when the intellect is strong, it will have the clarity and be able to make the decision very quickly. So, actually, yes, it's important I give time to this friend or to the family or whatever. And although I won't meditate right now, but I will spend 5 minutes just before going to sleep, for example. Or the intellect will say, no, this is very important for me. And dear friend or dear whoever, I will come and be with you in 15 minutes. Whatever is the judgment, that's not the important thing. The important thing is the exercising of the intellect and being able to have that dialogue in a conscious and clear way with the mind. And so then, maybe if the intellect is weak, it'll say, oh, I don't know what to do. I'm pulled here and I'm pulled there. And the mind will create a million thoughts. They shouldn't be doing this. They know I want to meditate. So you can see how when the intellect is weak, that's when the waste and the negative thoughts just proliferate everywhere. And so the intellect is that capacity to help us to be the master of our mind and guide the mind in the direction that we want. And so, our job as meditators is to be present, to consider ourselves as present within this inner space, this essence of ourselves, and manage our mind, our intellect, and our sanskars accordingly, and to build up power, spiritual power within ourselves, which means that our intellect will be stronger and cleaner, our mind will be clearer, and our sanskars will be in our hands rather than me being a slave to my sanskars, and let alone my body, my sense organs. So it's like, first of all, becoming a self sovereign of I, the self, and then being able to be the master of my senses. So working that way around. So just wanted to stop there, and either we can have a meditation, or if anyone wants to share anything or clarify something, please do. No, there's something you want to say. Does this image make sense to you? Or okay, so just to Abhijit, did you want to say something? No.
No, Radha, it's just I think that discrimination you could probably put it to discernment. I just thought, although it might might seem better on the slide, nothing else. Yeah.
Yes. It's unfortunately that word has now got a very bad reputation.
Yes.
But in fact, it doesn't originally. It doesn't have a negative implication. But because what we're discriminating is true from false, not in terms of people and their color of skin and caste and gender and all of that.
Okay.
So
Thank
it's
you.
come. But yes, it's. I also prefer the word discernment. So shall we have a meditation then, and then we can see in case there's something you want to. I wanted to actually, before we have the meditation, I wanted to read a piece by Dadi Janki on the intellect, and and it's from the book Companion of God. So the intellect is the vessel which holds the knowledge of God. It is different from the mind. A clean intellect is like the mind's filter, sorting out thoughts of value from those of waste, enabling me to put into action only that which is of value. So much energy is saved in this way, enabling me to do more and better in less time. In India, in the olden days, each household kept a special vessel for water. So the matka, I suppose. The first thing done in the early morning hours of every day was to empty the vessel and put in fresh water. As a spiritual child of God, the least I can do is to clean the vessel of my intellect in the early morning hours of every day and fill it with spiritual truths. Only when my intellect is clean and full will I then have something of value to offer others. So, to offer others clean water to drink is considered one of the biggest acts of charity, isn't it? And so, when our intellect is filled with pure spiritual truth, which is like life giving water, then it's something that we can offer to others. Okay, so let's have
So
a
I
meditation.
had a comment.
Please, yes, Saindra.
Uh, what you said about the mind and the intellect. So I just had this thought several times that if the mind is prepared with meditation, then the intellect, when it gathers a seed, can sow it in fertile ground, and then the seed can sprout better. So for me,
Yes.
when I've been meditating, and also maybe the mind attracts the seed. So for myself, when I've been meditating, and then I get a good idea or something from someone, and I'm open enough to receive it, and my mind is fertile enough to accept it and to let it grow. And I just felt that this, because the mind also plays tricks a lot of times otherwise.
Yes, exactly.
So it was,
Yes.
sorry.
Thank you. No, please finish.
And and thank you for talking about the intellect, because mine is a little bit, my will is a little weak these days, especially with the pandemic. And you spoke about this today when I heard of, someone committed suicide today, and who apparently had everything going for him. It was just, and I have a lot of friends who are, small people in the film industry, and everyone is very disturbed by the seeming fact of everything being put together and yet not together.
Yes. This is why observing what's actually going on inside is so important, because what things look like from the outside, it's very easy to deceive ourselves as well. And so, but there's always some background noise, inside, that's nagging us, that if you listen to it enough, then it's like a calling to say, hold on, stop, look, what's going on? I need your attention. So, okay, well, find a comfortable position. Take a deep breath. Just settle yourself in a way that you're easy, relaxed, and yet at the same time fully present. Preparing and willing to take that journey inside. So I consciously draw my attention within to that beautiful, luminous place inside. That space, that sacred space, where I, the original self, the eternal being, the being of light, am present. I take a moment just to visualize myself like a living, radiating being of light, pulsating the energy and the frequency of peace, of bliss, purity, and power, and love. All that matters is that I know who I am at this level. When I am sure of myself like this, then I will have the courage to look at all the layers that have settled over my being. Some of these layers block the light and weaken my ability to express myself as I am. These layers of false identity, of limited identity, distance me from my mind. It's as if my mind is abandoned and is working on its own. But as I become aware of myself as a being of peace, I approach my mind and observe it with love, offering the energy of peace so that it settles down, calms down. And the same with my intellect. This amazing crystal-like capacity to see. It is like an eye. However, this eye has also become weak and not able to see clearly. And as I strengthen it, nourish it with truth, with the reality of who I am, this eye, the sight, and the will become strong and acute once again. I can see precisely and clearly the direction that I need to go in, and gently, with the intellect, there is a dialogue with the mind. And both work in harmony for the well-being of I, the soul. And as I watch the synergy of my faculties, of my instruments inside, I feel a sense of gratitude, of the amazing ability of the mind to travel beyond limits of time and space. I see the sanskars, those original sanskars of the soul, the incredible beauty of expression, the cleanliness, the big heart, the warmth. I see my inner world coming back to the harmony that is so natural. And then gently I prepare to interact through my physical senses while staying aware of I, the original self, who guides the mind and the intellect lovingly and peacefully. Om Shanti. Thank you.